Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for waiting and for your kind patience. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today's reciters are Gaurangi Gopi Mataji in Sanskrit and Sushil Prabhu in English from Canto 3, Chapter 15, verses 34 to 50. Gaurangi Mataji, when you're ready, please start with the invocation. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Gaurangi Mataji, you're muted. Sorry, Mataji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate
Mataji, we can't hear you. Your internet is really like cracking up. Gaurangi Mataji, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
She's disconnected. She's not there anymore.
Oh, thank you, Mataji. I'm just checking that as well.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, your internet is very cracking up. We can not hear you properly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Oh, okay. Apologies for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The invocation again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 34. Tadva Manushya Prabhayasya Vakuntavatuhu Kartum Prakashtam Ihadima Himanda Divyam Lokani Tovrajatamantar Bhavatrishya Apiya Satraya Imeri Pavoshya Yatra. Am I doing the English also?
Therefore, let us consider how these two contaminated persons. Sorry? I thought I was doing English. Hello?
Yes, it is a translation you're doing.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. 34, yes?
Text. Therefore, let us consider
Hello?
from there.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, that was the action should be punished. The punishment should be apt for just benefit can eventually be bestowed on them since they find duality in the existence of Vaikuntha life. They are contaminated and should be removed from this place to material world where the living entities have three kinds of enemies.
Text 35. Teisha Mitirta Mudha Avadharya Govram Tad Brahmadandam Anivarnam Ashtra Pujaihi Sadyu Hari Anuchara Urubhi Yatastat Hada Griha Vapadam Atikatarina.
Vaikuntha Loka, who are certainly devotees of the Lord, found they were going to be cursed by the Brahmanas. They at once became very afraid and fell down at the feet of the Brahmanas in great anxiety, for a Brahmana's curse cannot be counteracted by any kind of weapon.
Text 36. Budyad Akuni Bhagavir Akaridanando Yona Harita Surahalianam Apyashisham Mavunuta Pakalaya Bhagavatsmidivyo Mohu Bhavetri Hapuno Rajapuratudha.
After being cursed by the sages, uh, by the sages, the doorman said, "If the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not come upon us as we go progressively downward."
Text 37. Evam Tadaiva Bhagavan Aravindanabaha Svanam Vibhutya Sada Atikramam Arya Hridayaha Tasmin Yaya Paramaham Samaha Muninam Anvishaniya Charano Chalayam Sahashini.
Agya.
At that very moment, the Lord who is called Padma 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 because of the loads growing from his navel, and who is the light of the righteous to the saints, accompanied by his spouse, the god of fortune, to spots. He went to the spots on those very feet sought by recluse and great sages.
Text 38. Tantve agatam prati arita paikam svapumihi te chaktasa vishayam svasamati bhagayam hamsa shriyo vyajanayoho shiva vayunola chabrata patra shashikeshara shikaranam.
The sages, headed by Shaunak Rishi, saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who was formerly had now actually become visible to the eyes. As he came forward, accompanied by his own associates, bearing all powerful alias such as an umbrella and camera fan, the white bunches of hair removed. The white bunches of hair moved very gently, like two swans. Due to the favorable breeze, the pearls, the pearl guarding the umbrella, who moved like drops of nectar falling from the white full moon or ice melting due to a gust of wind.
Text 39. Krishna prasada shunkham shridaniya dhamma sneha valoka kalaya hridi samsprishantam shyame prihavurasi shobhitaya shriyasvas chudamanim subhagayantam ivatma dhishnyam.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sushil Prabhu, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. The
No.
Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. The Lord, what are you doing? The Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. His auspicious presence is meant for everyone's benediction, and his affectionate smiling and glance touch the core of the heart. The Lord's beautiful the Lord's beautiful bodily color is blackish, and his broad chest is the resting place of the goddess of fortune, who glorifies the entire spiritual world. The summit of all heavenly planets, thus it appeared that the Lord was personally spreading the beauty and good fortune of the spiritual world.
Text 40. Vitam Shike Pritunita Bini Vishpurantya Panchali Virudaya Vanamalaya Cha Valgu Prakoshta Valayam Vinate Sudanse Vinyasta Hastam Vitarena Dhunanam Abjam.
Okay. He was adorned with a he was adorned with a girdle that shone brightly on the yellow cloth covering his large hips, and he wore a garland of fresh flowers, which was which was which was distinguished by hummingbees. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and he rested one of his hands on the shoulder of Garuda, his carrier, and twirled the lotus with another hand.
Text 41. Vidyutshipan Makara Kundala Mandana Hara Gandha Sthalona Samukham Manimatkiritam Dordanda Sanda Divare Harata Pararthya Harena Kandharagatena Chakustupena.
His countenance was distinguished by cheeks that enhanced the beauty of his alligator-shaped pendants, which outshone lightning. His nose was prominent, and his head was covered with a gem-studded crown. A charming necklace hung between his stout arms and his neck was adorned with the gem known known by the name Kustuba.
Text 42. Atro Prashtami Goshmindamindriyaha Svanam Dhiya Virachitam Bhushashtabadhayam Mahyam Bhavashya Bhavatam Cha Bhajantamangam Nemur Nirikshya Vikrita Drishto Mudakehi.
The exquisite beauty of Narayana, being many times magnified by the intelligence of his devotees, was so attractive that it defeated the pride of the goddess of fortune in being the most beautiful. My dear demigods, the Lord who just manifested himself is worshipable by me, Lord Shiva, and by all you. The sages regarded him with unsated eyes and joyously bowed their heads at his feet.
Text 43. Tashyaravinda Nayanasya Padaravinda Kinjar Kamishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu Antargatasva Vivarena Chakratesham Samkshubhamaksharajasam Api Chitta Bavu.
Leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of God entered the nostrils of those sages. They experienced a change both in body and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal mind understanding.
Text 44. Devanamushya vadanya shiktapadma kusham udvikshya sundara tarabhara kundahasham labdhasya shah punaravekshya tadiyamangiri dvandvam bharuna manishyaranam nidaditu.
The Lord's beautiful face appeared to them like inside of a blue lotus, and the Lord's smile appeared to be they to see him further. They looked upon the nails of his lotus feet, which were seven rubies. Thus they viewed the Lord's transcendental body again and again. So they finally achieved meditation on the Lord's personal feature.
Text 45. Om Sham Gatim Vigayatam Miha Yoga Margi Dhyanas Padam Bahumatam Nayana Hiramam Om Ashnam Vapu Darshayanam Ananya Siddhi Utpadike Shamangaranam Yutam Ashtabhughe.
Meditated. No. This is the form of the Lord which is meditated. This is the form of the Lord which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process, and it is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary but factual, as proved by great yogis. The Lord is full of eight kinds of achievements, but for others, these achievements are not possible in full perfection.
Text 46. Kumara Uchuhu Yonatarito Hriday Gato Viduratmanatvam Sudhivana no Nayana Mula Manaptaradaha Yarhi Eva Karna Vivarena Gupam Gato Naha Vitranuvaru Daraha Bhavat Udbhavena.
The Kumara said, "Our dear Lord, you are not manifested to the rascals, even though you are seated within the heart of everyone. But as far as we're concerned, we see you face to face. Although you are unlimited, the statements we have heard about you from our father Brahma through the years have now been actually realized by your kind appearance."
Text 47. Tam Tvam Vidama Bhagavan Paramatma Tattvam Satvena Sampratiratim Rachayan Tamesham Yate Nutapa Vidhivir Drida Bhakti Yogi Udgrantayo Vidhividur Munayo Vigraha Viragaha.
We know We know that you are the supreme absolute truth, the personality Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental external form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way.
Text 48. Natyantikam viganyanti apite prasadam kim vanyada vitabhayam dhruva uniraste yengad vad angri sharanam bhavataha kathayaha kirtanya tirtha yashashaha kushalarasagyaha.
Persons who are very expert and most intelligent understanding things as they are engaged in hearing narrations of the spiritual activities and pastimes of the Lord, which are worth chanting and are worth hearing. Such persons do not even care for the highest material benediction, namely liberation. To say nothing, to say nothing of others less important. Benedictions like the material happiness of the heavenly kingdom.
Text 49. Kamam bhavahasva urjanir nirayeshunascha cheto vivadya dinute padayorate rametam vachas tulasivad yadite ngrisho baha puryetate guna ganir yadikarna randra.
O Lord, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long our hearts and minds are always engaged in service for your Lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as tulsi leaves are beautified when they're offered to your feet, as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities.
Text 50. Radushchakratayad idam puruhutarupam tene shanirvitimava puralam rishonaham tasma idam bhagavate nama id vidhema yonatmanam durudayo bhagavan pratitaha.
O Lord, we therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your eternal form as a personality Godhead, which you have so kindly manifested before us. Your supreme external form cannot be seen by unfortunate less intelligent persons, but we are so much satisfied in our mind and vision to see it.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Apologies for the technical
Hare
difficulty.
Krishna. No worries.
Hare Krishna, Indra Mataji. Have you done the Mangalacharan prayers?
No, Mataji, we couldn't because there was an internet issue.
Okay, no problem, Mataji. Madan Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Madan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Gorangi Gopi Mataji and Sushil Prabhu for your recitation. We will do the Mangalacharan and we'll do the invocation. And today we are going to be talking of a summary of chapter 15. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are going to be talking of a summary of chapter 15, which is the description of the kingdom of God that we have been going through the last few weeks. So the way we will do this will be, I'll provide a very, very quick high-level summary of chapter 15, and then in terms of, what this particular chapter is all about. And then we'll do a show of the translation and the purport, and we will quickly scan through all of them. We'll not go through them in great detail, but I will pause upon one or two key like one or two key verses and a couple of purports that are very, very important that I would invite you to read again, because Prabhupada, in at least two purports, he gives a lot of meaning that's that's really very useful for us to follow. So that's the format we'll do, and then towards the end we'll see if there is any personal realizations and questions. Please do join me. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरे प्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नम ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्यता देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you all so much for joining today. So today we are going to be doing, as we mentioned, chapter 15, which is description of the kingdom of God. So let's see where we are in this particular chapter in status quo. So it'll be good to reflect a bit on what happened in chapter 14, because what happened in chapter 14 is a precursor to this particular chapter. So chapter 14 is the pregnancy of Diti, and in this particular chapter we see the influence of what Krishna calls the greatest enemy in the Bhagavad Gita, which is lust. So we see the agitation of Diti, who's the wife of the great sage Kashyap, and who's the sister of Sati, who's Lord Shiva's consort. And we see that she's agitated at two levels. Initially agitated because she would like to produce offspring, and towards the end of the chapter, she gets her agitation takes a different form because she realizes what is the whom she's going to be giving birth to. So this is again this is quite a important. I mean, this entire chapter 14, although we'll not discuss that in great detail today, is also a warning to us in terms of what can Cupid really do, what can karma or lust really do, and it can bewilder even some of the most exalted devotees like Diti, and as a result of which actions could be committed, which which has consequences. However, there is also an aspect of why these things happen, because none of these actions can happen without the blessings of the Lord. And chapter 15, talks about both aspects. So as we move to chapter 15, the first part of the chapter is about the pregnancy, about the imminence of Diti, and that's when Diti starts to know that she's going to be giving birth to two offsprings who are going to be the bane of existence for the demigods, and that makes her very worried because, as any sane person and or a man or a woman, as Prabhupada mentions, um, it is it's I mean, you have to be a non-devotee to really say that that they can really affect or agitate the demigods. So clearly Diti is so repentant about her initial agitation, and she holds on her pregnancy for about 100 years to try to minimize or delay the impact of these asuras who will be born to the demigods. And when this happens, there is a darkness that prevails over the entire universe. So the light of the sun, diminishes, and the demigods are very agitated. They are very worried and anxious, and they know that something is not really happening right. And so they approach Lord Brahma, and they they offer their obeisances to him, and then they ask him to explain what is happening. And in this, Prabhupada also gives us a good understanding of the constitutional position of Brahma, which we will briefly go through today. And then Brahma smiles, and he's all knowing, so he knows what is there in the or what are the intentions of every living entity, because he's a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's a representative. So he then explains, and then he talks about the four Kumaras and how they wanted to go to Vaikuntha. They came visiting, and how the two doorkeepers had blocked them from entering, and how the sages got angered, and they offer a curse to the two doorkeepers who were there now in the womb of Diti. And as the chapter unfolds, both the four sages, feel repentant about, being very hasty in cursing the devotees, and even the two doorkeepers who are pure devotees also got, they felt very, agitated about their, repentant about their committing the offense with the great brahmanas. So, and then towards the end, we also see the Lord manifesting Himself into for the sages to see. And there is also transformation that happens, which we will briefly touch upon in of the Kumaras towards the end. So the way the chapter ends is the four Kumaras paying their obeisances to the Lord. And as we go through this, we also see that there are very beautiful descriptions of not only Vaikuntha, but also the Lord. And we will touch upon some of these today and just meditate upon them. So that's really chapter 15, a very, very important chapter for us. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very quick walk through, just scanning through some of the key things. But before that, just wanted to check if there are any questions, any initial reflections, based on chapter 15. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. If there are no more questions, we'll have an opportunity towards the end as well. So, as I mentioned, the first set of verses is really around the demigods feeling extremely agitated because of the disturbances that could potentially be caused to the demigods, and this is where Prabhupada says, no sane man or woman can tolerate the non-devotees giving trouble to devotees. And Diti is a pure devotee, so she was very reluctant to bring these children into the world. and then you can see that there is a darkness that prevails. And there is a very interesting, I think, that Prabhupada points out here, which is it appears from this verse from the Bhagavatam that the sun is the source of light for all the planets in the universe. So, which is slightly different from what the modern scientific theory says, where there are many suns in the universe. So, from this particular chapter, from this verse, it appears that in each universe there's only one sun which supplies light. So that's something interesting and something which I didn't really know till I read this particular chapter. So then you could see how the demonic influence of the sons of the womb of Diti expanded darkness to the universe. And there's also a reflection of what happens when you have negative qualities. When you have negative qualities, and then the universe also is affected by that. So when we perform a heinous act, when we perform a sin, so there is that negativity. There is a certain aspect of darkness that gets that is experienced by the universe. And obviously the two sons in the womb of Diti are are the epitome of evil. So you can see how expanded that darkness is. And as we go, and this is where we start seeing from verse 3 onwards, we start understanding the constitutional position of Brahma here, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport. So we see a few qualities of him, and I'll just touch upon a few of them. So he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead's incarnation of the mode of passion in the material world. So, and Prabhupada also says that he's non-different, and also that the fact that influence of time cannot really affect him because he has been born from the unmanifested. So that's one of the qualities of a Brahma, which is three kalagnya. So so time does not impact Brahma. So as we go, we start seeing, and you could say that here Prabhupada says that Brahma is almost on an equal footing to the personality of Godhead. So he's very revered, and here's where he's also addressed by various other terms like the god of the demigods, secondary creator of the universe, and sustainer of the universe, and so on. So and that's why the demigods are paying their obeisances to him. And as we go, we can also see that the knowledge of the Vedas was first impregnated by this, by Krishna into the heart of Brahma. So therefore, Brahma is also the original source of all scientific knowledge, and hence, whatever he says in the Vedas are something that we can take is coming from an authoritative source. And we will move on as we so the demigods, they continue to pray to Lord Brahma. They say that you're the cause of this universe, and anyone who meditates upon you without deviation attains devotional service. Now this is an interesting text which talks about how there is no defeat for those who control their mind and senses. And most of the times when we do yoga, we think that we're controlling the breathing process, but that's not really the end outcome. The end outcome is that by controlling the breathing process, you control the mind and the senses. And any devotee who does this, who control the mind and senses, are able to attain the Lord's mercy. So that's what this particular text is all about. And then as we go on, we also understand how anyone who is who's having spiritual aspirations, it's quite important that they cannot violate the rules that are laid down in the Vedic scriptures, because this knowledge comes from none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Lord Brahma is has the original knowledge. So it's quite important that any living creature and who wants real benefit in life must not act according to the direction of the Vedic literature. And the Vedic literature has a lot of difficult things to do from a yogic perspective. And in the Krishna conscious movement, things have been made a lot easier for us. So by chanting, by performing devotional service, we can achieve without necessarily having to read through the Vedas, because it would take us a lifetime and maybe more lifetimes to really truly understand the Vedas. And then towards the end of their supplication, the demigods say, "We have fallen into a miserable condition because of the darkness. All our work has been suspended." So you could see that this darkness that has been spreading about the universe is also having an impact on the goodness in the world. And the demigods are very, very worried that they have fallen into a miserable condition, and they are asking Brahma, "Why is this happening to us? Why is this happening to the universe?" And they wrap up with this particular verse. From text 11 onwards, 12 onwards, Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma listens to them, and he smiles, and then he like explains why this is happening in the first place. How come how come Diti has got these two offsprings, and he begins with speaking about the four Kumaras, that's Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara, and Brahma talks a little bit about about what they really do, because because they were born from Brahma's mind, and they travel throughout the material and the spiritual skies without any desire, and they are pure devotees of the Lord, although they have not really seen him as of now, but they do see him towards the end of this particular chapter, as we'll see. So and then as it turns out, the four Kumaras, they have been traveling through all the universes, and then they entered into the material sky, spiritual sky, and they were completely freed of material contamination because they were born from the mind of Lord Brahma. So there was no material contamination. There was no modes of material nature that would contaminate them. And this is where they get to see the spiritual sky, which is the Vaikuntha. And the next few verses are really a beautiful description of the kingdom of God, and also the pure devotees, which we'll just go through very quickly. So we do know that this world is a dukhalaya. So this world is full of cares and anxieties, because we go through birth. Even birth is painful. Growing up is painful, both physically and otherwise. And then there is old age, and then there is disease and death. So nobody can really live eternally. And in one of the chapters, Krishna also says that this is this material universe is just a hotel. It's not really a home, because a true home really lies in the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. But we think that this is our true home, and then hence we try to create our lives to live in this hotel, although we do need to remember that it's only a hotel, it's not a home. So as we go to text 14, we see that now this is quite important. So in the Vaikuntha, all the residents are very similar in form to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is really no so we have been shaped in form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everyone engages in devotional service, and no one has got a desire for sense gratification. And in the Vaikuntha, so that's where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. Although he is not really visible to everyone, but everyone is performing devotional service to him. And he's full of the uncontaminated mode of goodness, with no passion, with no place for passion or ignorance. And he even transcends, the mode of goodness, because he's beyond the three modes of goodness, because they are also part of his inferior energy. And Prabhupada speaks about the three modes in some detail. We will move on. So this is where the description of the Vaikuntha planets really start. And so begins with forests being very auspicious, and there are trees which are desired trees, and these desired trees are not fulfilling your material or sense gratification, but they're fulfilling your spiritual desires. And they are everything in Vaikuntha planets is spiritual and personal. So right from the trees, the living beings, the animals, the cows, the birds, the bees, every living entity, everything is in this, even the non-living entities are all spiritual and personal. And they are all eager to serve Krishna. They have no sense of sense gratification. And there are even some this particular verse also speaks about the unique qualities of the citizens of Vaikuntha. So they can fly in the so there are some mystical qualities. So they can fly in their aeroplanes. They're accompanied, by their wives on concerts, and they're constantly singing the praises, the glories of the Lord. So and then you can see, how the Madhavi flowers blossoming, full of honey. Whereas in the material world, they have honey, but then for a very limited period of time. So, and then you can see how everyone is trying to sing the glories of the Lord, and right from the King of Bees, and when the King of Bees hum, then the others just listen, because it's just not about like extolling the grace of the Lord, but then when you do the Shruti, it's so ecstatic to just hear about the glories of the Lord. And we continue. So there are lots of flowering plants, and then they're full of transcendental fragrance. How the most important of them all is Tulsi. And you could see, there are quite a few descriptions of the importance of Tulsi in this particular chapter. And Tulsi also plays a very, very key role in a transformation, which we are going to see later. So here Prabhupada speaks about Tulsi plants and how they not just have a medicinal value, but then they also have a value which allows us to come closer to Krishna. And then we can see for the descriptions, you can see that there's so much of opulence in Vaikuntha. So so they travel in airplanes made of lapis lazuli, which is semi-precious stone, emerald, and gold. And then here there's an important one. Although they are crowded by their concerts, but they cannot be stimulated to passion, and we will see why. And this contrasts a lot with what we saw in chapter 14. And then there is further descriptions on this. So so Prabhupada just mentions that here the important thing is there is an enjoyment of the association of the opposite sex, but there is no sexual relationship. So so the definition of what pleasure is very different for the residents of Vaikuntha. And all of us, I mean, all the living entities are Prakriti, because the original enjoyer is the Lord. He's the Adi Purusha. So here we see some descriptions of the ladies who are all as beautiful as the goddess of fortune, and everyone is like very eager to serve. So you can see that these marble walls. So that is really no dust in Vaikuntha, because it's all very spiritual. But then they still want to sweep so that they can receive the grace of the Lord. And as we go further, there are some examples of where one of the demonic qualities is for us to want Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune, without her husband. And when this happens, then there is an aspect of the goddess of fortune, which is Chanchal. So she's very she also depends on the Lord for her happiness, and the Lord Brahma depends on Lakshmi, on goddess Lakshmi for his happiness. So you can see that if Lakshmi ji is not happy, Lakshmi ji can only be happy when the Lord is happy. And if we can keep the Lord happy, then Lakshmi ji and fortune automatically comes. We don't really have to make any special endeavors for that. And we continue with this, and this is where Tulsi is again referred to here. And here's where the beauty of the goddesses of fortune becomes even more amplified when they're kissed by the Supreme Lord. And this really speaks, this is where Brahma speaks about how, we, instead of really looking at the pastimes of the Lord, we keep hearing about, topics like, on politics, on economic development, and that's what consumes a lot of our, a waking day. And this is again an invitation for us to really focus more on hearing of the glories of the Lord rather than anything else. Text 24 is probably what I think is one of the most important verses in this chapter. And Because what it really says, what Lord Brahma says, is that the human form of life is of such importance that we also desire to have such life. For in the human form, one can attain perfect religious truth and knowledge. If one in this human form of life does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his abode, it is to be understood that he is very much affected by the influence of external nature. So here, Lord Brahma makes something very important to us. So even the demigods have a desire for taking the human form of life, because it's in this particular form that we can progressively improve, enhance our consciousness towards Krishna consciousness. And what it also means is that if we do not use this opportunity that's been provided to us in the right way, then we are just wasting our life. And here's further descriptions about persons, like about those who really, hear the glories of the Lord. So you can see that the kingdom of God is above all the material universes, and it's also desired by Brahma and other demigods as well. Because Brahma and demigods, how much more exalted they um, are still part of the material universe. And here this is quite an important purport. We will, because of the time, but I invite you to definitely read the purport on this one, because in 2 or 3 purports, Prabhupada has been very, very, has spoken a lot about, like the advice towards devotees. So in text 26, we move on, and this is where we see the Kumaras coming to Vaikuntha, and we will. This is where they find themselves in text 27. They find themselves in the through this. They go through all the 6 entrances of Vaikuntha Puri, and they see the 7th gate, and then 7th gate they see the the doorkeepers, and they are quite attracted, because they wonder, I mean, who are these shining beings, and then they see that these 2 doormen, who's Jai Vijay, as we know, are garlanded with fresh flowers. You can see them, being very exalted, of looking fully opulent. And then what happens is that the great sages, because the Kumaras, they have no really idea of ours and theirs, which in today's world is so important, has become so prevalent, because we keep thinking about I, me, myself. We keep thinking about ours and theirs, but the 4 Kumaras did not have any such understanding. So they just enter the 7th door without any understanding that they need to probably like take permission before they do that. So, and that action, and this is also like a bit of the nature of the 4 Kumaras themselves, because they may be 5 years old, because they are eternal, but then they are the oldest of all living creatures. And when the porters who really saw them, and they did not really see, they saw them as 5-year-olds, and they didn't really recognize them as the oldest of the living creatures, but then they blocked their way. And here's again a question about an offense that the porters have committed to the sages, and again a warning for us to avoid doing such activities. And then we could see that the Kumaras, the effect is that the Kumaras, were very angry, because they were so eager to see the Lord. They wanted to reach out to him very, very. They wanted to see him, and they really found this this blocking extremely like a cause for anger. And so then they went to, and they asked, who are these 2 persons who have developed such a discordant, mentality? So, and how are they living in Vaikuntha? Because they have no notion of blocking, etc. Because to them, everything was open and everything was pure service for the Lord. And so they think that these 2 persons are imposters who have come. So they, get these wrong notions, these brahmanas, around who they were. And then what they do is they curse the in the next they start cursing. They say that we do need to do something about this. And in the Vaikuntha world where there is complete harmony, why is there a seed of fear in this field of harmony? And so they go around to text 34, and this is a very, very important one, and it's got one of the most important purports that I would invite you to read. So this is where the Kumaras curse the doorkeepers that they should be removed from this place of material world. And this is where the living entities have got three kinds of enemies, which Prabhupada explains in the purport is desire, greed, and lust, of which the lust is even more important. And then this is when the doormen, they see what they see that they have been going to be cursed, and then they not only became afraid, but then they also understood that they did something which was committing an offense against the Lord's devotees. And because they themselves were devotees, they knew what the gravity of this curse could be, and so they became very repentant, and they asked for forgiveness. And this is the time when the Lord, Padmanabha, he comes, and he's accompanied by his spouse, and this entire meeting of the Kumaras and the Jai Vijay goes on, and then he comes to the spot, and then this is where there are some beautiful passages in the next, which is really around the visibility of how the Supreme Personality of Godhead was only visible in the hearts, but now he manifests himself, to their eyes, and that way he's showing his mercy to the four Kumaras, and then you can see a beautiful description of him. So white bunches of, starting from the paraphernalia, and then as the Lord comes, you can see how he's a reservoir of all pleasure. You could see that his affectionate smiling and glancing touch. You could see his beautiful bodily color is blackish, his broad chest, the resting place of the goddess of fortune. And by coming, he was personally spreading the beauty and the good fortune of the spiritual world, even in the material, across the material world. And then the description continues. He was adorned with the girdle. Can I request somebody who's on mute to unmute yourself, who's on unmute to mute yourself, please? And then there is a yellow cloth, and then he wore a garland of fresh flowers. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and you could just see how beautiful this is. So just you can close your eyes and just meditate on the form that's being described here, and just see him in our inward eye. And then his countenance, distinguished by cheeks that enhanced the beauty of his alligator-shaped pendants, which outshone lightning. His nose was prominent, his head was covered in a gem-studded crown. A charming necklace hung between his stout arms, and his neck was adorned by the gem known as kaustubh. So this exquisite beauty of Narayan, which has been magnified by the intelligence of his devotees, so attractive that it defeats the pride of even the goddess of fortune, who herself is the most beautiful. And this is what is being described by Lord Brahma to the demigods. And when the sages see him, all they can do is just to they're completely unsated, so they just can't have enough of seeing the Lord, and they bowed their heads at his lotus feet. And that's what they had really come for, and they achieved what they've got their their minds, their heart's desire. Now something very magical happens here, and verse 43 is also very important, because when the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of these sages, they experienced a change both in body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So far, before the Lord showed the mercy of sharing of showing his divine form to their eyes. The four Kumaras were impersonalists. So, what Prabhupada says here in this verse, it appears from this verse that the four Kumaras were definitely devotees of the Lord, but they were impersonalists, and their intention was to become one with the Lord. But when they saw the beauty of the Lord, and when they smelled the fragrance of the tulsi, because tulsi was truly transformative in their mind, so their minds changed. So instead of becoming one with the Lord, they thought it was much wiser to be devotees, because when you become a devotee, then what you do is you have the benediction of being able to serve the Lord. Because if you become one with the Lord, it's very difficult to really perform devotional service. So this is quite an important verse for us. And then as we move on, we can see that, for the description of the Lord's beautiful face. Just bear with me for a second. Okay. So the Lord's smile appeared to be a blossoming jasmine flower, and they looked upon the nails of his lotus feet, which resembled rubies. So that continues to so they meditate on the Lord's personal feature, and because they get so overwhelmed, they get so blissed by the Lord's personal feature. That's a transformation from their wanting to become one with the Lord, which is the impersonalist philosophy, towards actually becoming to developing a relationship with the Lord. And then as we move on, this is the form of the Lord that's meditated upon by the followers of the yoga, and it's pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary, but it is factual. And this is again, text 45 has also got a very long, but I think a very important purport, where we look at the 8 kinds of achievement by the yogis, but even if these 8 kinds of achievement are achieved by the yogis and the mystic powers, there is nothing more important than than building that relationship with with the Lord, which the pure devotees would. So this is quite a long purport, which we will not go through today. However, we will just read this. So those who have taken to this most sublime bhakti yoga system, and that's what Prabhupada, and saying, who practice devotional service and transcendental love of Krishna, can testify to its happy and easy execution, because it's the other parts of yoga are very difficult, and even Arjuna, himself had a lot of misgivings whether he's able to do that or not. And then Krishna says, just follow bhakti yoga. So just chant and hear my glories, sing my glories, and perform devotional services. And then the Kumaras. So the Kumaras are so overwhelmed with joy when they see. So then the last few verses of this chapter is really around, like they're addressing the Lord. And he says, the Kumaras say, you're not manifested to rascals, even though you're seated with the heart of everyone. So Krishna is seated as a Paramatma, but then he doesn't manifest himself to us, although he is seated within us. And unless we do have a desire to, come close to him, in which case he fulfills our desires. So, and the Kumaras also say that the statements we have heard about you from our father, because they have not really seen the Lord, so they only heard from Brahma, and even who's their father. So even though the ears have now actually been realized by your kind appearance, so they have just heard about Brahma, heard about the Lord, and so they had this impersonalist view. But now, because of the seeing him, and because of the fragrance of the tulsi, that's transformed their minds to a personalist view. And 47. So this is a further, paying their obeisances to the Lord. So we know that you're the supreme personality, or absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, and who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. So the 3 modes do not have any impact because the Lord is above them. So he's completely uncontaminated. And It's only unflinching. Unflinching is steadfast, consistent devotion, enthusiastic devotion service. That's what can really help us come close to Him. And text 48 continues. So persons who are very expert and most intelligent in understanding things as they are engage in hearing narrations of the auspicious activities. So you can see how the Krishna conscious movement allows us to, participate in sanghas, join kirtans. So we're able to really hear narrations. We have the chat sessions, which, you attend so regularly. So, and you have a choice to do something else, but you have chosen to really, stay with us and attend all, these sessions on a regular basis. So, such persons, Kumaras, the four Kumaras say, do not care for even the highest material benediction, liberation. So they would prefer to continue to perform devotional service rather than liberation. And then they also go on to say in the next verse that even you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, because the four Kumaras, they understand that they have committed an offense. They should not have really angered, cursed, the pure devotees who had just committed an offense. And it also goes on to say that even someone, even those as exalted as the four Kumaras can also be deluded by anger. So it's quite a learning for us to try to control our mind and senses. And whenever we have this, feelings of anger, we should try to really pause rather than really take a drastic action like how the Kumaras did in cursing the Jay and Vijay. And what the Kumaras also says that we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life as long as our hearts and minds are fully engaged in your service. So it doesn't matter whether I'm in heaven, whether I'm in hell, because those are just dualities that they are, and as pure devotees, we don't really look at dualities. For us, everything's equanimous: happiness, distress, suffering, joy, hell, heaven. And what they say is that even if you put us into hell, that's perfectly fine, but please don't make us forget you. Allow us to perform that devotional service in a steadfast manner. And towards the end, in the last verse, the Kumaras say, "O Lord, we therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your eternal form as the personality of Godhead, which you have so kindly manifested before us, and your supreme eternal form cannot be seen by unfortunate, less intelligent persons, but we are so much satisfied in our mind and vision to see it." So that's how the this particular chapter wraps up. So very quickly, chapter 14 begins in with darkness, with the demigod anxieties, and then and then they're paying their obeisances and asking, Lord Brahma for an explanation, and then Lord Brahma, smilingly, talks to them about the four Kumaras, their encounter with with Jay and Vijay, and how that manifested itself in their cursing them, and how they were devotees, and how they saw the Lord, and how they had a transformative, they moved from an impersonalist to a personalist view, and then and how that how those two Jay and Vijay are coming in the form of the embryo of Diti, and you know, f- through which the darkness started in the first place. So I have done a lot of talking today, and I know that we are quite late actually, but before we wrap up, I just wanted to check if you have any reflections, anything about, like what really moved you, what really resonated with you about this particular chapter and what it says.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for that beautiful summing up of the chapter. and you brought up so many salient points, so that was really beautiful. To me, my reflection is this whole chapter, when you go back over and over again, to me, it's just like watching a movie with all the visuals that are described. And Srimad Bhagavatam is so beautiful in its description. And especially, when the Kumaras see in chapter 50, when they see the manifestation of the Lord, you can actually perceive all that, and it's just so beautifully done. And you brought it to light today. So I really appreciate today's class. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, chapter 15, Canto 3 is definitely super special because we get to see the beauty of Vaikuntha. We could get to see the beauty of the Lord, and we also get to see why why devotees go for the personal relationship rather than the impersonalist, and what can possibly be a consequence of our negative activities because it results in darkness in the universe. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other reflections? All right. So maybe a way to wrap this up would be to say the Vaishnav prayer. So would somebody like to lead that? Kirtida Dulani Mataji, would you like to lead that? Or I can do.
Yeah, you can start, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
Kripa
sindhubhya
sindhubhya
eva
eva cha
cha
patitanam
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Chapter 15, Canto 3 ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Most beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. Have a blissful evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Definitely.